My mom loved this show.
Hey, this is Matthew Harvey here with the 12 o'clock siren recording live, not at the 360 broadband studios, but right next door at the Benediction on the Square. At the Cowboy Corner on the southeast side of the downtown Leonard Square. On my left hand is the reigning heavyweight champion of Arledge Ridge, James Hartley.
That's a new one, man. That one caught me flat-footed.
You didn't expect that,
I
did
didn't.
you?
I didn't.
Yeah,
no.
You get it?
Yep, I got it.
Who are you sitting next to?
I'm sitting next to your mom.
Hello.
She is our.
There was a your mom joke in there, man. Come on.
There is, yeah. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce New York Times best-selling author, comedian, Fox News contributor, former NWA heavyweight champion of the world, and today my massive sidekick, Tyrus.
Yay!
How are you? Okay.
All right, Tyrus, thank you very much for coming here. We just had spent about an hour with you. You talked about all kinds of stuff from personal life to politics to current events. It's been a big weekend this past weekend with obviously an assassination attempt, a VP pick. I'll give you both of those to choose from and just hit the high points.
Well, I think obviously what's on everybody's mind still, I think everyone's still kind of, I think we're at the point where it's like surreal still. We're like, did we see what we thought we saw? And I think the infuriating part is there's still organizations out there that are trying to tell us we saw different. And I think that's where the frustration comes from. But it was one of those situations where we will all remember where we were that day. I think everyone will have unfortunately we had that with 9/11, and then we'll have October 7th, and then now we'll have this. So those are we've had some pretty major moments in this country that are historic and for all the wrong reasons. So the beautiful thing that came out of it was the unity and support we saw across the country. And I think mainstream media will have to change because the carpet is up. Everybody sees everything for what it is, and they had an opportunity. I thought we'd get 5 days at least of trying to bring the country together, self-reflection.
I think it was 2.
Yeah, or 5 minutes maybe.
Yeah, and I think that's the mistake. There was an opportunity there for everyone to look. I live my life, and whether you read my book or not, the only person that I try to change is the guy in the mirror. I focus on that dude because I can't change anybody here in this room. If they like me, love me, doesn't matter. People are going to find something wrong with you. Doesn't color your skin, tattoos, eye color, face, the way you sit, the way you chew food. I mean, it's just there's always going to be something you're going to do that you're not going to be able to change their mind. And you waste so much time trying to please other people, and you always end up hurting yourself or losing yourself, and you end up going on a path. But once you start making all your corrections with the person in the mirror, it is so much easier to wade through stuff because I know that whatever happens to me, I'm responsible for my actions. So it's not when you get hit in the mouth. My grandma always tell me it's not when you get hit in the mouth, son. It's how you're judged by your reaction. Do you fight? Do you lay on the ground? Do you whine? And that's what people are discussing. So we were hit in the mouth, and we've been hit in the mouth, and we've continued to show class, integrity, and it's funny because we're deplorables, but we're the ones that maintain American values, even when situations when it would be warranted in some cases not to.
Yeah, we hear a lot of negativity, and the Hitler comment. The Hitler comparison, and I know Gutfeld's made that point a lot, and how you kind of make him that you're now immoral if you're not against him. Like you're morally obligated to go against him. So that's a big issue to me.
Well, here's the thing: there's no comparison to Hitler. Hitler's Hitler, and no one can compare. You don't say this is my 9/11. You know what I'm saying? There's certain things. That is the desperate act of a dishonest person. That's a desperate act of a narcissist. And that's a desperate act of somebody who doesn't have real intelligence to talk about
They say
real
that's usually when the
situations.
conversation's ended, when Hitler gets brought up.
But it's not. But there's a difference between, and the Republicans tend to attack them on their policies. They tend to attack them on their cities, their crime. We stick to we follow the rules of engagement, right? I'm not saying you got extremes or whatever, but we handle our extremes. And whereas the left, it's the extremes that are dictating the behavior and the policy. That's the difference. So they say things like he's Hitler because they don't have anything else. They don't believe in their own stuff. They eat their own. Like we see it all the time. They go after each other. Biden has a bad thing, and of course the debate, woo. But that just goes to show there was no compassion. There was no sympathetic, like, you know, it was, he's got to go. He's just that, whatever. We're going to lose this election. They never once talked about his well-being. The only ones who talk about that is the other side. And they live in a bubble. They don't talk to us. So their rhetoric is violent, even though they disguise themselves as being unviolent. Like, apparently this is the only gun violence that they're okay with, because I haven't seen any of them come out with NRA attacks and all that stuff like they usually do when something happens with gun violence. We've actually, so they've shown us who they are. And like I said, those of us who watch the news all the time, we're hip to it. But for the casual American who's working and raising a family and doesn't watch TV 24 hours a day, the debate, the attempted assassination, that has galvanized this country.
I think it's also possible that as the Democrats move further to the left, their viewpoints rely on very convoluted perceptions of reality, right? So it's easier for them, instead of being able to carefully construct their narrative, it's easier just to Hitler people to death.
Well, no,
you know?
they're a party of feelings.
Yeah, sure.
And feelings are lies we tell ourselves to feel better about ourselves. So when you're arguing feelings and
Say it.
it's kind of like arguing with a woman, because a man comes to the table with facts. You know what I'm saying? And we don't start our arguments with, you have to understand how I was feeling at the time.
It's not quantitative.
Yeah, so it doesn't take us 45 minutes to get to the point, as you know what I'm saying. Hi, Mom.
Well, we couldn't say that, so thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. But I should say, not all women. I was referring to organic women.
I am not organic.
You're an organic woman.
Yeah, you're an organic woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Your tubes are on the inside.
Not a constructive one.
Yeah.
This is just going the wrong way, isn't
This
it?
is a personal thing, you know. I'm not judging. I just prefer my tubes on the inside. Weird.
Okay, I didn't realize.
Yeah. Uterus approved.
Uterus approved. We've got some questions from some of our super VIP fans that came out today. I'm going to run through those real quick
Sure,
for
let's
you.
do it.
I know you're a big reptilian fan. What's your favorite snake?
Oh, that's a good question. My favorite snake to probably raise and handle is probably a ball python or a corn snake. My kids like those the most, and they're fun because they breed and they lay their clutches of eggs, and the kids get to experience that. You know, in high school or in junior high, I think everyone got a chicken egg or a duck egg to watch it hatch. In my house, you get a really cool snake or iguana or caiman or whatever to hatch, and it's kind of so for breeding purposes and getting all kinds of different colors and this and mix matching, and I would have to say probably ball pythons and
Ball
corn
python?
snakes. Yeah.
Fair enough. Next question is, we love when you talk about your kids. What parental advice do you have?
Ooh, parental advice from me.
We just went deep.
Except for don't buy a horse.
Yeah. No, do buy a horse so your daughter doesn't run off with a jackass.
True.
That was good.
Thank you. Clever.
Yeah, very.
I think the biggest thing is you can't be their friend. I'm not my kid's friend. And therefore, we're not even on a first name basis, to be honest with you. Like if my kid said my name, like, hey, Tyrus, it would be a really bad day for them. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because I've never said my mother's real name, like in public or around her. Like that was just, what? Like when I found out her name was Elsa, I was shocked. I was like, Elsa? Oh, really? Like, call me it one time. Let's see what happens. So I think what's big is to remember that we're not their friends, and that's not a bad thing. That's what people don't understand. You're there And you gotta let them get scars. You gotta let them fall on their face. You do it close enough to where if you need to pull them out, you can, but you gotta let them go down with the ship sometimes.
Let them do dangerous things safely.
Yeah, and a perfect example, my son's playing baseball, and he's doing travel ball, and he's hitting home runs like it's going out of style, and he's only 12, and he's got guys from the Angels going, who is this switch-hitting, left-hand pitching monster who doesn't have an aggressive bone in his body because he hasn't had to. He hasn't had my life. He's had a pretty good life, and he's got his grandparents are huge in his life. He's got a great system, and he's surrounded, and he's starting to expand, and he was in a championship tournament, and they were the underdog team, and they were playing the team that won it, and they were down 2 runs in the bottom of the 7th, and my son hit a walk-off home run, and so they went to the finals, and then he had an amazing tournament. Then they're in the championship game against a team who hasn't lost in like 2 years or something like that, and they it's the same thing where they come up, and it's the top of the 6th, and it's a tie ball game, and my son hits a 3-run shot, and he's ecstatic, and his team's ecstatic, and I'm watching on Game. I bought that Game thing at Dick's Sporting Goods so I can watch all those games. I'm a GM. I'm a GM of horses and baseball teams, and I watch them all when I'm not, And the other team came up in Little League fashion with 2 outs and a full count. They rallied, and they won. And my son was unconsolable. And the first thing he did was ran to his FaceTime phone to call me, and he's sobbing and he's crying, and he's like, "Dad, we lost." And I said, "No, son." And I was like, my first thing was just, I'm going to try to pick my son up because I know best, right? And because I'm the dad. And I was like, "Look, you hit 4 home runs in the tournament. You played error-free baseball on first base. Like, you did everything you could. Like, you carried the team on your back, son. Hold your head high." And he's like, "Dad, none of that matters. We lost. My team lost." And, and I was just, on TV I made a joke where I grabbed my chest and said I'm a good father. But in real life I was like, "Son, you just taught me something. I underestimated you. I'm treating you like a baby still, and you're here acting like a grown-ass man."
Right.
So do I still have to buy the action figures? And he's like, he was like, "Yeah, Dad, I hit 6 home runs. That's 6 action figures." So I was like, "Okay, son, but I just want to say that you taught me something today." So I think you have to keep, they will teach you stuff about them, but at the same time, it still wasn't a friendship thing. It was a father-son thing. And I think that's the thing we need to get back to, because my mom was not my friend.
Sure.
And
it can be friendly, but
you would hope all parents are friendly. Well, if you raise me, you might argue that differently. But the point is like, I always knew to respect my mother because she was my mother, not my buddy, not my sidekick. Like, I would never cuss at my mother. My mother is about a little bit taller than Dana Perino on a good day. Right. But she never, ever had to worry about, she never had to spank me, because it was a waste of time. But if she looked at me and said I was disappointed, it was a bad day for me because I respected my mother.
Yeah, good advice. Next question. What would you say to people who believe in the 2020 election was stolen and are worried that the 2024 election might be no different?
Get over it.
Yep.
We got our ass kicked, plain and simple.
Yep.
There's more of them than us, and when you can sit on your butt and mail in a voting thing, and like I said, I will never mail in vote. I know because my family, that was a big deal going to vote, and getting up and getting a few hours off work. It only really takes us 30 minutes to vote, but I would stretch it to 2 hours. So you get a little lunch and brag, but going into that box and pushing those buttons and walking out of there is a feeling of like I'm a part of something. I'm a part of this process. And I meet a lot of people who's like, "I'm not voting." And I said, "You don't think much of your family. You should always vote. Even if you go in there and you vote and you ride Daffy Duck, your voice is heard and you're representing your family and the very fabric of this country." So we got our butts kicked. It was a pandemic. No president was going to survive that. We had a bad debate. Now, if you look at debate now, we had a phenomenal debate back then. Joe had us all fooled in terms of like, he looked like Donald Trump, President Trump attacking him. America was like, "Oh, why? Why would you attack Joe? It's Joe, So it didn't do him any favors. And I remember I was on TV. It was like Rocky, where I'm telling Apollo Creed, "We don't need to knock out, bruh. Just step back, stick to your policies and your deeds, and we'll be fine." He's like, "No, I got to knock him out." And that's what happened. Yeah. So
Miscalculation.
But here's the thing. I don't have an issue with the president feeling like he was robbed, and he should feel that way. Let's just take ourselves out of presidency, just normal day thing. If I spent all my time trying to get you off this podcast, every day we came to work and I had a different thing. Oh man, I heard he was dealing with Russian podcast people and he's stealing he's taking the Dallas theme music and he's doing all this stuff and he's selling everything, our intel to Russia, and that's why they have a higher rated podcast than us. And I keep telling you, he comes to you and you're like, I didn't do that. So then there's an investigation and then now it's an awkward working thing, and then the next day and then we finally decide we can't really prove that, and then I come back with something else like, oh man, he sexually harassed 7,500 women in 1972. I was there, I saw it was horrible. And they kept throwing things, fake investigations. Was he impeached him 7 and 8 times when they knew they had no correct? It never stopped, spying, all that stuff. So all this stuff is going on to you, and then they're going to vote, but you're doing great work. Even with all this stuff's going on, you're getting all this stuff done. You're getting things accomplished. You're making historic stuff. You brought the oil back to this country. You opened the pipeline, which put Russia in check, because as long as we set the amount of money oil's worth, we run the table, we control the world. When Biden came in and turned the thing off, that's why Ukraine got invaded. That's why Iran started acting a fool. That's why China's pulling the big boy pants up now, because they control the money. So all these things are happening. He loses the election. He would have to be a moron to not feel it was rigged or stolen. So all of a sudden, you've done everything you can, basically planned a coup. The FBI, everybody, decided they were martyrs and they knew better than the American people. For him to say that he felt it was rigged and wanted votes checked, he would have to be an idiot not to. Who would not do that under those circumstances? It wasn't like he just blindly lost because they were just being great. So I understood it. Unfortunately, we lost.
We're here
and
now.
we take the L. And we saw the last 3.5 years of progressive policies, because the bigger issue is not that we lost, it's that we were deceived. This is not Biden's White House. This is not Biden's record. That's why I always laugh when they said, his record speaks for itself. No, his record is like Milli Vanilli's record. It's not his. Okay? So if you want to say that's his record, then give them their Grammys back. Well, the one that's left. Or are they both gone? I don't know. R.I.P. But that's my point. So it's not crazy. And again, he still left.
No.
And he had every right to feel like he was wrong. Now, yes, he didn't have a housewarming party.
No.
He
That's
didn't
all
invite
right.
him over for dinner.
Right.
But would you let a wolf in your house? No, you would not. So that argument, to me, when I hear it back from more, he wouldn't be running if he didn't think he could win. Because if he knew he couldn't, why would he go through this?
Right.
His family, Ivanka is no longer interested in politics because she was tired of her children being threatened. Like the 134 counts on a crime that doesn't exist. So there's a lot of reasons for him to feel that way, and for the American people to feel that way, that support him, that are being told that they're Nazis and they're racist and they're all these things. So everybody has that feeling of ick. They created that. And then they did everything they could. And I don't want to get in conspiracies, but they couldn't do it with the fake courts, and they couldn't do it with the investigations and impeachment. And lo and behold, some person assassinates them. They couldn't do that right.
Yeah.
So, and the American people, like I said, you can fool us all the time. You can piss down our back and tell us it's rain for a little while, but eventually we're going to go, nope, that's piss. And that's what's going on right now in this country. And then there's nothing they can do about it. And yes, the diehard Bernie Sanders progressives, they ran their little shadow government, and we saw the results of it. Look at the hires. It's not hard. Look at the DEI hires. Look at the damn security team. So all the people, it's all out. The joke's up. They're no longer going to talk about switching Biden. I think all the moderate Democrats know, clean out your desks. So, JPK.
Just make it too big to steal now.
Like I said, too big to rig.
To rig. Hashtag.
Yep.
Next question. Who is your favorite guest to have on Gutfeld? Who do you get excited about seeing is going to be on that show?
Oh, anytime Charles Payne's on.
Yeah.
He's great.
Smart guy.
I like the fact Charles is brilliant.
Cleanest closet on Fox, quite possibly.
He's the reason why I don't wear suits. His suit game.
Yeah.
I mean, this dude's pajamas are suits. But he's a brilliant man, right? And he's like a genius. And every genius has weird quirks. And his favorite thing is he usually laughs before he finishes his joke, which I love. And the other thing is he likes charts, right? But he doesn't have like high-tech charts, but his information is high-tech. So he'll grab a white piece of paper on TV, which is like a flashlight. It just reflects light. And he'll write down his stuff. You can't see it. And he'll be like, and you put this here, and I'm just dying and laughing. I was like, he brought paper printouts. And then every time he comes to the show, I'm like, can you bring your paper display? No one else can see him. And I think it's hilarious. And then he'll just laugh, and he has that boisterous thing, and then someone will say something wrong, and he'll be like, hey, and then everybody will be like, so Charles Paynes is my favorite guest, and Walter Kern is probably he's my second favorite because I love his book, Blood Will Let Out. I think it was probably one of the best books I've ever read. And it made me really look at myself. It's one of those things where you question yourself because we've all been stupid. And even the most intellectual people can be dumb when we chase carrots that people put in front of us.
Oh, yeah.
Or women.
Yeah. One more time. Yeah. Yeah.
Next,
What Mom said.
That
Yeah.
was purposeful.
next question is a throwback. The Funkasaurus from Planet of Funk on a mission with the Funkadactyls.
Yep.
What the funk were you thinking? He says.
It's one of those carrots.
I think I know a little of this backstory, but I think it was. I'm curious.
So, I'm a funny guy in the locker room, believe it or not. And I tease my buddies. And Yoshitatsu, he's a guy from is a Japanese wrestler that came over to us, and he was very into Japanese style, which in America, it looks goofy as hell. So he bought an all peanut butter white leather suit with matching boots and a man bag, and had the temerity to wear that in the locker room. And I made fun of him for like 15 minutes about like, does it come with a peanut butter wallet? Is there, like, you got leather drawers too? Like, how many piece set is this? Is it a living room set that goes with it? So we're teasing him, and Mark Henry's filming it while everyone's laughing and stuff. And he ran back and he played it to Vince McMahon, and Vince was like, ha ha ha, he's funny. Now, during this time, I'm the biggest monster. Matter of fact, I was from Planet X, and Brodus Clay was killing everybody. And that's, Arn Anderson was my head trainer, and we were getting ready. I was getting groomed to rearrange John Cena's face, and I was walking around eating nothing but raw meat and drinking lightning and just getting ready to go to be this monster. And Vince said, hey, send me that. That's funny. I want to watch it again. And he watched it again, and he watched it again, and he watched it again. As you can see, I'm mad at Mark Henry. And then he came to the meeting one day, and I'm getting ready to debut, and we shot all these vignettes, and I was wrestling on Superstars, just mollywhopping everybody, and really having the time of my life. And he's like, this Brodus guy is funny. You know that, right? And they're like, yeah. So does he really need to be a heel? And they're like, and you know what's the best part about being funny is you could probably dance too. And so Vince McMahon apparently started a wrestling company so he could fulfill his dream of being a dancer. Like, the man loves to dance. Like, it's creepy how much she likes to dance. And even when I worked in clubs, I never danced. Like, I'd bob my head. I was just a post. And the women dance around me. Tyrus don't dance. So I was like, and Triple H, who was so excited about evil Brodus Clay, and he came to me one day and he's like, walk with me. And I was like, oh shit, what happened? And he was like, the old man saw you making fun of people and he thinks you're really funny and he thinks you're a baby face. And I'm like, well, set him straight. And by the way, I was being evil when I did that. It wasn't a nice thing. And he's like, well, how do you feel about dancing? And I was like, how do you feel about dancing? And he was like, I was like, what is happening? And he's like, he wants to change the gimmick. He wants you to go back and come up with some dancing moves. And I was like, is there a camera around here? Is this like one of those joke shows? So we're doing, okay, I'll bite. Sure, boss, I'll dance. What else you want? And
he was like, yes, that's it.
And he was like, and I panicked when I realized he wasn't joking. And I said, well, I need to go see Dusty Rhodes. Send me back. Take me out the road. I need to go see Dusty, and I got to figure this out. And I went home, and I went to see Dusty to tell him I was quitting. I was like, I'm not dancing for nobody. And I looked at it like they were trying to make me shuck and jive. And I said, another brother coming out dancing, I'm good. I don't want to do that. And I told him that, and Dusty looked at me and he says, so you're better than me. I said, what? I said, no, man, he says, you better than me? He said he put me in polka dots, made me dance everywhere. I was a 3-time world champion. So you're better than me. You know why I did it? Do you think I like polka dots? I'm fat, Tyrus. Do you think I like polka dots? No, sir. He said, but I had children to feed. Don't you have children to feed? I was like, so what's the issue? You get to dance and come out and maybe you'll make a kid smile or two, but more importantly, your lights will stay on and you'll build something. So again, are you better than me? And I was like, no, sir. Then get your ass out there and let's dance, baby, and figure this out. And he put on Moves Like Jagger.
Oh, God.
And I'm standing in the ring and I'm mad. Okay, he's right, and I'm mad because he's right. And he comes out and he starts dancing on me. And I mean, he's dancing on me. And I'm like, if you don't get your old dirty leg, just stop. I'm not dancing with you. Fine, okay, cool, let's just whatever. And he made me dance around the entire building while he recorded it. And it just kept going from there. And next thing I know, I'm doing the American Dream with him. We're just dancing. And then he was like, what else will you make this spectacular? And at the time, Naomi and Andrea they weren't really doing anything, and I knew she was a Orlando Magic dancer, and I said, hey, is there any way if you guys dance around me, nobody will watch me dance, so I can protect myself. And they were like, she's like, yeah, it's better than doing nothing. So, but I was adamant because I have daughters. They were little, they were tiny. I was like, they're not hood rats or hoe trains. They're funkadactyls is what I came up with. I was like, but I hadn't said it yet, but I was like, they need to be cheerleaders and role models. I want little girls to want to be them. So that needs to be what it is. It's not, I don't want thongs and all that crap. And they're like, yeah, neither do they. And so we went with that, and the name that Vince came up with was Big B. And I was like, Big B? He said, oh no, that's dumb, let's call him Heavy B. By the way, Heavy D died like 2 weeks earlier, so I was like, it's like, yeah, that's not happening. So I'm getting ready to debut, and I hated the name Big B, and so I lied. Justin came out and said, what am I calling you tonight? And me and my buddies were trying to think of different names, and the only name I could remember was the one I hated the most, which was the Funkasaurus. I said, I'm from Planet Funk. I'm Brodus Clay the Funkasaurus. And he was like, is that approved? I was like, and he was like, all right. And I went out and did it, and Planet Funk, and da-da-da-da. And Vince was like, that was brilliant. That's one of the best ideas I've ever had with that name. And I was just like, but all my buddies know that we came up with it, so we played.
Right.
Oh, sorry.
He's saying wrap it up.
No. Judge Janine just called me, so.
Cool.
Tyrus!
Tyrus.
We do have to wrap it up. I know you got to go. Thank you so much for coming by here today. I think everybody had a good time. You guys have a good time out there?
But I don't think I have to remind everybody here, but please make sure if we don't see each other before November, you do vote. All the boxes, pay attention, just don't check them. I don't think I have to tell Texas what they need to do, but make sure I don't care how you vote, just everyone get out and vote, and let's just see where the chips where they may. I feel like we're in a good position as long as everyone goes by new campaign slogan, #shh.
Yeah. Too big to rig.
Too big to rig.
Thank you so much, Tyrus. We appreciate it. Safe travels.
Thank you.